teach you something that will help you build relationship with journalists and producers and editors and podcasters and get psychological buy-in before you would even pitch yourself, okay? So if you think about it, if you want to have the most newsworthy story in the world and you start pitching yourself, it's still a one-off. Even if you were successful with that and they went and interviewed you because it was something that was very relevant to their audience, if you don't have a relationship with that person, there is no reason for them to come back to you again and again. So you always want to put the relationship first and start connecting with people before you need them, okay? And so what I do, for example, if I want to have some podcaster interview some of my clients, if I haven't worked with them before, instead of actually reaching out and say that, hey, you should interview this person, they're so fantastic, I ask them to come and talk with me on Skype or on the phone or sometimes in person or wherever I can, get a meeting first and start building rapport with them first. Find out about them. Why do they do what they do? How come that they started this podcast? How does it fit into their overall business strategy? What are some of their goals? What kind of projects do they work on? Personal things, where do they live? How can you connect with them as a human being first? And then if it's appropriate, then you will recommend a topic idea or a story idea that you would like to do on that show, but be sure to focus on the relationship first. If it's someone who writes, for example, for Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur or any of those types of things, you want to connect with the contributing writers rather than the staff writers or the freelance journalists, because contributing writers are usually entrepreneurs. They've been pre-vetted by that magazine. They have a column in that magazine, and they still have to get editorial approval for every single article that they will put in, but they are not making their living from writing. A staff writer has to pump out 3, 4, 5 articles a day, so for them, being newsworthy is a lot more important because that's their job, to do something that will get clicks on that page, on the main page of the magazine. Now, and also they are the most well-known writers with the hugest social media followings. It doesn't mean that you can't pitch to them, especially if you have something newsworthy, but if it's an evergreen type of thing, or it's your story and it's not really something that would be relevant to what they already talk about, you're much better off not having that huge competition where everybody else is going, but start building relationships with the contributing writers who are more collaboration minded anyway because they are entrepreneurs. Make sense? Okay. So you would have a chat with them on the phone or on Skype or wherever you meet them and say, after you talk to them, you ask them, how can I help you? What can I do to actually support you with your goals? Okay, and what do you need right now? And it could be business related. It could be that it's something completely personal. Maybe they need a chiropractor, or they need a new school for their kids, or they're going to speak at a certain city and you know that there's a vegan restaurant and they're vegan, so you kind of make that recommendation. Start building rapport that way, okay? And if you have something that you feel would be a good story idea for them or a good interview opportunity, say that, yeah, I actually have a couple of good things that I think would serve your audience. I can send you the information later via email. Is that okay? They'll say yes. They almost always say yes. So you just very casually, as a by the way, you drop in, unless you really feel that you have such a strong rapport on the first meeting that you can pitch something right now, okay? So just say that, yeah?
Good question. Do you tend to send a media release or an article that you've written that they could just plagiarize?
Plagiarize?
Oh,
Well, there are opportunities where you can ghostwrite it for them, but not unless you already had a working relationship with them and you know that they prefer that you ghost it for them. If nobody likes to be a mouthpiece for someone else's promotion, and very often it happens that people write from their own perspective and it becomes very promotional. I had people send me articles that were ghostwritten to put in my column in Smart Hustle magazine, and it has a link to their strategy session. It's like, I can't put that there. You really have to be mindful of how the audience perceives that, okay, to really lead with the spirit of giving and generosity and wanting to help that audience first. Okay?
I'm wondering if you give them an article they can use and take bits out of.
Yeah, you can give it to them for quotes after they agree to cover you, not just upfront that, hey, put this in your thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you start developing that relationship, have that meeting with them, and then say that, is it okay if I send you some stuff? They'll say yes. Now, this is what you're going to say. As promised, here's the information about what we talked about, the story idea or the article idea, and you give them a couple of headlines. Using the word as promised psychologically makes them feel like, oh yeah, this is the stuff that we talked about. Suddenly the story that you're pitching is not a cold pitch anymore. It's something that they feel like, oh yeah, I bought into this before. Now it's just a matter of scheduling it or tweaking it to really fit my column or my audience. And then you want to write your headline ideas in a way that is in their style. So look at that column, look what kind of article topics did they have, or what kind of podcast episodes did they title, how did that look, okay, so that they can see that you get their audience and you know how to write in a way that they will get more traffic. Make sense? Question?
Good stuff, yeah. Like a sneaky response.
Yeah. Is it familiar? When you get emails from me? Right. You really want to make it feel like it's a follow-up on something that they already agreed to, which they have, because I said yes to you. So your only yes that you want when you first connect with someone is to be okay with sending them more information. Okay? So how do we reach out? You want to first of all define your who. Who are those people who I need to connect with? For example, if it's TV, it might be the segment producer or the producer, probably not the executive producer unless you already know them. If it's a magazine, it might be the contributing writers, or it's an editor who really has a good fit to what you have to offer, and that's the kind of topics that they talk about there. You want to go with your lowest hanging fruit. So trying to get on the Today Show when you haven't done any TV before is not going to work, I can tell you right now, because it's so fast-paced and they really want to see that you have TV experience. It's the same with any other type of media outlet. You want to start small first, get your practice, get some traction, and then go after the bigger outlets. Low-hanging fruit also... Knock. Low-hanging fruit also in terms of getting an introduction. So if you want to connect with editors and journalists and producers and you have a mutual friend, then ask them to introduce you. And in fact, when I work with my clients, we have an entire spreadsheet that we put together for a bigger project. Column A is all the influencers, all the podcasters, all the people who we need to reach out to. And column B is who can introduce us, who are our mutual friends. If we know them directly already, then we just put their contact details there. If we don't, then we know that, okay, Jeff is someone who we have in common, Rob is common, Ben is common. Like, you put all the mutual friends. And if you don't have a direct connection, then you put the friend of friend, or the friend of friend of friend. It kind of sounds a little crazy initially, but as you do a little bit of investigation and you look at your Facebook connections and you look at who knows whom, who is promoting whom in the affiliate world, you know when everybody is promoting some one person's launch, so you can see that who is connected to whom and who supports the other person's message. And we talked about this in the beginning, that you're connecting with people anyway. You're networking anyway all day long, so you might as well be strategic about who are those people in column B who I can contribute to. And when the time is right, either they will offer it or I will ask for an introduction. But you don't want to do it where I need this tomorrow. No, you want to do it ahead of time before you need anything. After you really put in some time to start developing your relationships with people who are in a position to either introduce you or to cover you on their platforms, you need a great pitch. So let's talk about how to pitch. First of all,
Just going on back, one step, sorry to do that. If you're looking to bring someone on like in your team who's doing that for you, how do you then manage that? If I have relationships with you, Ben, and then they're trying to think of how they can do that, how do you do that if you have someone like a team member who's going to be managing your PR? How do you approach that?
I would ask who has the closest relationship. Make it not where it's a competition internally who can get to that person first, because then that one person will get 1,000 pitches from the same company and they're like, that's bad for you, for your reputation with them. So you want to connect with them and see who really knows them well. And it could be that it's an assistant or somebody who has a fairly low-level position, but they're neighbors with that person and they really are good friends. Use them. If it's your higher-level marketing executive or something and they can reach out, then do that. Just depends on who they are and what their closeness is. Was there a question there in the back? No? Okay. So being relevant, being newsworthy in terms of traditional media like TV and radio and newspapers and magazines, it's really, really important that you can tie your expertise to something that they're already talking about. If you want to talk about Facebook ads and their audience doesn't care about that, you have to find something that actually makes sense, right? So, for example, I had one of my clients, Cassie Howard, who we got her on, I think it was in Benzinga and MarketWatch, and she was quoted because she commented on the Facebook earnings for that quarter. and she is a business coach, but also a social media expert. And so we were able to tie her expertise into that. It's not that she's a financial analyst. So there are ways of connecting the dots if you just think about what makes sense for that audience.